Awesome. I'm going to set up the closed captioning as well. Hi, everyone. Okay. Awesome. All right.
Did you stream to Facebook yet?
Yeah, I'm going to set that up right now.
Push all the buttons, set up all the things.
Awesome. I know, right? It's always this like, I had to have Alexa remind me about everything before she left. Like,
Make a
like,
technical
oh yeah,
list.
all the different, yeah, right, of course. Hi, everyone. Hey, well, everyone's coming in to join us. I'm just setting up Facebook to stream. I want to let everyone know that this webinar is going to be recorded today. And we will also be streaming it live on Facebook, as I mentioned. You will get a recording of this email. If it's not enabled, you can go ahead and enable it by hitting the closed captioning button to toggle it on and off. All right. So what we're gonna do is, well, you can drop it in the comments there. Oh, I'm freezing up. Oh no.
Okay, good. I didn't know if that was me or you.
Oh,
I didn't
no.
want to say anything.
Better?
It's yes, now I can hear you. It was doing that thing where it's like,
It's usually me.
I was like, okay, I can't tell if that's me. I don't want to be rude.
No, perfect. Thank you, Damon. Just so everyone knows, I live in the woods best. So I want to go ahead and let everyone know. Is it better?
No.
Good.
You might want to
let me know in the chat if I.
You might want to turn off video
okay.
if your connection is
Here's
dropping
what I'll
low.
do. Okay. Hopefully that's a bit better, everyone.
Yes.
Can y'all hear me now? Yeah, perfect. Okay, sorry about that. So I'm Sarah. I'm going to be filling in for Alexa today. I just wanted to start out with a few housekeeping things. First of all, if you guys, as we're listening, have Q&A questions that you want to ask of Damon, who I'll introduce in just a moment, please put them in the Q&A box as opposed to the chat, because we will not be able to find them in the chat. That would be amazing. And if everyone could, you could just do that as you're thinking of them, okay? And we will have time at the end for Q&A. Some housekeeping again. 10th, we have our next premium workshop. So these are our paid workshops. I want to let you know about this one coming up because a lot of people have been asking for this. It's with our friends Kim Ely and Nikita Rao-Stevens, who are the hosts of the podcast Sociable Scribes. And they're going to be talking about podcast pitching for authors. So it's going to be a really fun one. They're going to give us some free tools to make our pitches better for podcasts. So definitely do not want to miss that. If you're interested, you can find the link for signing up at the Write Publish Sell website. You just click events and it's right there. And of course, these premium workshops are part of content that you get if you join our membership group. And that is another thing. We can certainly hang out. You can send us a message. We can answer questions about it. If you have any questions, we do a premium workshop every month, plus 2 sessions with our team of just Q&As with everybody in it. Private Facebook group. It's a lot, and we have a lot of fun. Our next sponsor session for the Women in Publishing Summit will be on the 31st of August. So mark your calendars then. This is a free one with authors and media. Same time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard. And it's going to be a really good talk. Coming up in September, we'll have some workshops on TikTok. You might have seen a lot of people talking about book talk recently, and how to apply for grants for authors. So some good topics coming up. And we're really excited today to have our friend Damon. Hold on one second. Let me pull up your bio, Damon. Damon Courtney is the creator and the CEO of BookFunnel, an ebook and audiobook delivery service for authors and publishers. As a lifelong software engineer, Damon is an expert in just about everything technical and can offer unique insight on publishing as it relates to software and technology. He's also self-published a single fantasy trilogy and continues to spin stories in his head that he hopes to publish soon. And I'll tell you guys too, before we get started, that we use BookFunnel internally for our clients all the time. So I'm really excited to hear all the amazing tips that Damon's going to bring to us today to tell us a little bit about BookFunnel. So thank you so much, Damon, for joining us today.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. I can't remember what the title of my talk was, but I do know kind of what I want to talk about. And first I will tell you that I talk with my hands. So as you're watching me, hopefully this isn't terribly distracting. I try to do this so that I don't constantly talk with my hands. So just a quick breakdown, the bio sort of mentioned it, but really what BookFunnel is amazing for, and the reason that I built it was so that authors, indie authors, and we have a lot of traditionally published authors and publishers that use it as well, but mostly indie authors. That is most of our clientele. And what they're doing with it is basically all the things that you really can't do within the existing store systems. You've published your book on Amazon, you've put it up on Barnes & Noble and Kobo and all these other platforms. And they are really built to do one thing. You can sell books through them, which is fantastic. We love making money, and selling books is obviously the end game for really all the stuff that I'm going to talk about today. But they don't really give you the power to do really anything else. I mean, you can go to Amazon and you can gift a book to someone else by buying a copy of your own book and then sending them essentially like a gift card that buys them a copy of your book. You can do the same thing with audiobooks, and you can do most of that on some of the other platforms. Don't even let you do that. Like there's no way to gift a copy individually to someone else. So even if you just wanted to say, hey, I just wanted to give a copy to my brother, you actually can't do that. You can send them a link and then they can go and buy it. And so that was why I built BookFunnel. Was I had a need as an author. I was publishing my fantasy series, and I had a need. I'd written a short story and I wanted to give it out as a sort of a lead magnet, or what we call a reader magnet, to entice people to join up for my newsletter. And there really wasn't any way to do that at the time. So that's where BookFunnel comes in, and that's what we do. The core of what we do is deliver ebooks and then now audiobooks, which we added back in November, ebooks and audiobooks outside of the traditional source system. So any place that you can think of that you would be like, oh, I want to be able to send a book to somebody or deliver a book in some way that lives outside of that traditional source system, that's where BookFunnel comes in. So like a really simple idea, we have authors that they ask when people join their mailing list, they sometimes ask their readers like, hey, tell me what your birthday is, and on your birthday, I'll send you a free book. And so they would do that through BookFunnel. You gift them a book and say, hey, happy birthday. I'm so happy that you're one of my fans. Here's a free book for your birthday, right? We have a lot of authors that do little things like that. And again, you could sort of do that through Amazon, through some of the other platforms, but you're basically buying a copy of your own book, whereas BookFunnel lets you it's your book. You can send it to anybody that you want. And so what I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about today and give you some ideas. So even if some of you have a BookFunnel account, or if you've never heard of us before, I hope that you'll come away with some ideas and some ways that you could use BookFunnel to do these really cool things that we see authors using our platform for. And I will tell you that, I built BookFunnel to do one thing, which was to deliver my reader magnet so that I could get people to sign up for my newsletter and say, hey, put a link in the back of my book that says, hey, I'm so glad you enjoyed the story. I hope you enjoyed it. If you join my newsletter, you get a free short story that I've written that, has this other character that appears in the books. And so it ties into the series, but it's not necessarily a part of the series. And that was ultimately why I build BookFunnel in the first place. But then we've been doing this almost 6 years now. And in the time since I originally built it, we've come up with a lot of new features like advanced reader copy delivery, which I'm not really going to talk about, but that is something that we do. And then we added audiobooks and we added book gifting and all of these sort of amazing things that you can do because indie authors kept asking us for the ability to do them, right? Our roadmap and the things that we build and the tools that we build for authors, they all come from our author community. When authors ask us, say, hey, it would be really neat. I would love to be able to do this with my ebooks. And we go off and say, oh, that is a really good idea. Let's go build that. So, but over the years, what we've seen are authors using BookFunnel to its fullest advantage and really doing the kinds of things that sadly for a lot of traditionally published authors, they're not even able to do. Most of them, they don't own their books in a way that they can just give out free copies and do that sort of stuff with them. So indies have a lot more power. You're able to take your books and really do anything that you want with them. You can take your characters from your stories, you can write short stories and go off in a different direction. And you can do all of these things to make your readers super happy. And that's, I think that was in the title of my talk somewhere. But the point of it really is that as you're getting these readers in, as you're publishing your books and you're getting some readers in the door and they're reading your books and they're enjoying your books, what your ultimate goal is to take those readers, those casual readers, and turn them into super fans, people that will absolutely just buy everything that you write. And you know, I'm in my mid 40s. I don't know how much where the rest of you are, but I've been reading since I was a kid, and I can tell you now that there are authors that I have read for the last 30 years that I am a super fan of. If they publish a book, I buy the book, and I am certain that I've never met an author that wasn't a reader, so I'm certain that all of you out there are readers too, and I guarantee you there's a name that pops into your head that's like, I'm a super fan of that author. If they publish a book, I'm going to buy it. You want to make your name that name that goes into other readers' heads. You want to make those super fans. And obviously the best thing you can do is keep publishing books, right? The more books you put out there, the greater the audience that you can reach, and your readers are always going to be happy to read more books from you. But not all of us can publish a book a month. Like I see some authors that are doing that, and I think that's incredible. That's amazing. But not everybody is able to pull that off and do something like that. And so what they are able to do, though, is use some of the tools that BookFunnel has to create super fans out of casual readers. So the first thing I want to talk about is, and again, if you have any questions, put them over in the Q&A, and then when I sort of get to the end, Sarah's we'll take the questions and I'll take those one at a time. So if I say something that triggers a question, put it over there and I'll be happy to answer that. And if we run out of time, I'm happy to answer any questions afterwards. You can email me and we can talk about it. But so the first thing I want to talk about is actually growing your readership. And I always tell authors that even if you're just starting out, even if you're just publishing your first book, you should really think about starting and building your own mailing list. And I know that for a lot of people, mailing list is a bad word and they don't like it. I am one of those people. I don't really like to join a lot of mailing lists. I do join the mailing lists of the authors for whom I'm a super fan. But all the other ones, yeah, I don't really want to be on Old Navy's mailing list. As much as their shorts are great, I just don't need shorts all day long. So I don't need to hear all of that. So I unsubscribe from that. But keep in mind, and I tell people all the time, you are not your reader. So there are readers out there who absolutely love their favorite authors and they want to hear from them frequently sometimes. So the beauty of having your own mailing list is that you always have a direct path to your reader. It's the one thing that we have. It's something that we have as indies that has really never existed in the publishing world before. When I was growing up as a kid, my favorite authors might have had a fan club that you could write an actual letter to and like a stamp and put it on there and send it to them. But most people didn't do that. Now you can actually, you can tweet at your favorite authors, you can join their mailing list, you can find out what's going on when they're releasing books, what they're writing, you can read their blog. Like we have direct access to our favorite authors in a way that we didn't have, none of us had when we were growing up and reading books. And more than that, we as indies have a way to make those direct connections that you don't necessarily get when you're in traditional publishing. I read a lot of fantasy and science fiction, and Tor is one of my favorite publishers. I read a lot of Tor books, and every Tor book that I read, when you flip through the front few pages, is a newsletter sign up for Tor's newsletter. not the newsletter of the author who wrote the book. The sign up is for Tor's newsletter. And I will say I'm on Tor's newsletter. It's a great newsletter. They've actually started doing some of the things that indies have been doing for years. Tor sends out a free ebook every week. Once a week, they send out a free ebook from their catalog. Now, it's usually an older title, and they position it brilliantly. It's the first book of a series that just released book 4 or book 5 of a series. So it's great. I get the first book free, and if I like it, well, here's a link to all buy the entire rest of the series. That's the kind of thing that authors, indie authors, are out there doing, and the traditional publishers are starting to pick up on that, right? They're starting to do more of what the indies have been doing for years now. But as you're growing your newsletter, and I hope that you work on building one, and this is, again, you can build a Facebook group, you can build a Twitter following, you can build an Instagram following, you can use all these social media platforms, and you should be, if you're into that sort of thing. If you're not into that sort of thing, don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. But even with all of that, you still should be building your own newsletter, because all of those platforms are sitting between you and your reader. Facebook has many times decided that they're just going to change the rules, and you can no longer message all of your readers, or the message only goes to 1% of your readers, and then you have to pay them if you wanted to go to the rest of your readers. You don't ever get that if you're actually building your own newsletter. So a few of the things that authors on BookFunnel use to build out their newsletters. First of all, we have a feature called group promos, where you can join other authors in your genre and send out, you share your newsletter with their readers, and you share your newsletter with them, they share their newsletter with you, and everybody is sharing in the same readers. What's nice about that is if everybody's writing in the same genre, their readers are already predisposed to like what you're reading. And the same thing goes for your readers. And the kinds of things that work really, really well for that are, you can use just about anything for a reader magnet. I will tell you that a full book is the best if you have a full novel that you can give. A lot of authors don't, and that's okay. A novella is, they get shorter and they get less effective. A novella is a great thing that you can offer, especially if you are writing in a series, or you're writing as a romance author, you're writing in a world. If you can make that novella tie into the series, or tie together with those characters in some meaningful way, then that's going to be a lot more popular. A lot of authors use a prequel novella. So if I'm writing series and I've got books 1, 2, and 3, the prequel novella comes before those. And that is a really, really great, it's a strong call to action in the back of your book. You get to the end of book 1 and it says, hey, I hope you enjoyed the story. If you really liked it and you want to find out, the first time the heroes met, go back, join my newsletter, and you get this free prequel novella, or this free novella that tells you the story of the first time that they met, right? What's neat about that is it's a really strong call to action, because they've just gotten to the end of book 1. Hopefully they liked it and they want to read more of the story. If they didn't like it, chances are good they're not going to want to read more of the story. So they're not going to end up getting into your newsletter because for whatever reason, the book didn't resonate with them. But series readers, if you're in science fiction, you're in fantasy, or you're one of those genres where you're writing in strongly tied series, or even if you're in romance and you're writing books that all occur in the same little town or in the same island in the same part of the world, series readers are completists. We see this a lot on BookFunnel, readers that will just absolutely devour every little piece of content that you can possibly put out that ties together into that world or into that series. So giving them a little bit more story, and especially one that tells them about their favorite characters sort of before the action started happening, that's a huge call to action. That's something that's really great. And if you have something as a prequel novella that can lead into a series, that's even stronger, because that can work as a great reader magnet too. You can put that in a group promo, because if they read that, if somebody picks up that prequel novella because they liked your cover, they like the description, it looks really good, when they get to the end of that prequel novella, the call to action in the prequel novella is, hey, start reading the series right now. Get book 1 and start reading the series and see where the love goes. Where does the rest of the story go? So that prequel novella works as a reader magnet and as a great call to action for readers who are already into your series. The second one that we see, the second piece of content that we see are bonus scenes, like extended epilogues. This has become really, really popular in romance, especially, the reader gets to the end of the book and you always want to give the reader a complete story. So you don't don't ever withhold the ending like they don't get it. So they get to the end, they get their happily ever after, which is, if you write romance, you know, is very popular. So the characters have their happily ever after, but then at the end you say, hey, I'm so glad, I hope you enjoyed the book. I wrote another story that happens a year later after they get married. If you want to find out what happens, join my newsletter, it's free. And that's a really, really, again, a really strong call to action. If they've made it to the end of the book, or they made it to the end of 3 books and they love the characters and they love the books that you're writing, they want to know what happens next. They want to find out what the rest of the story is. So they're very motivated when they get to the end of that book to go get on your list. And again, it's all free. You're just, hey, join my newsletter, just give me your email address and you can get the free book. You can unsubscribe anytime, right? And those bonus scenes, those extended epilogues, they don't work quite as well as a reader magnet because they are directly tied to a book that you've already published, or they're directly tied as a bonus scene to a series of books. And so the reader isn't necessarily going to know who those characters are or why they should care about them. So the bonus scenes, they don't work as a reader magnet, but I think that they're a lot stronger as a call to action to get readers onto your newsletter, because those readers are highly motivated, because they've gotten to the end of the book or the end of the series and they want to know what happens next. And so those are 2 pieces. Prequel novellas and extended epilogues and bonus scenes are 2 pieces of content that we see authors using a lot to help grow their mailing list. I use the words mailing list and newsletter interchangeably. You can call them whatever you want, but they're basically the same thing. It's a group of readers that you have their email addresses so that you can reach them directly. So now, once you've started building that newsletter and you've started getting people onto your newsletter, what you want to do is try and convert some of those readers into super fans. That's the ultimate goal. That really should be your ultimate goal as an author, is to convert casual readers into super fans who will just absolutely buy everything that you publish for the rest of your life. Because if you can get enough of those, then you can have a career for the rest of your life, even if no new readers ever come along and start picking up your books, or even if very few new readers come along and start picking up the rest of your books. If you can make super fans out of people, they will buy everything forever and ever, amen. So authors use BookFunnel a lot in building those super fan relationships. And so those are some of the things that I want to tell you about, that how they use those, what we see authors using BookFunnel for, and how they're turning readers into super fans. So first one is short stories. And I know that a lot of people love writing short stories. Some people don't like writing short stories, but I'll tell you why they are effective and why authors that are building super fans really love them. Number one, they're quick to write. Most authors can, we get this a lot where authors are like, well, I'm too busy writing my books to stop and write a short story. Yeah, but you're a writer. That's your job. It's what you do. So you should be thinking about this, and you should be thinking about these things. And especially if, as you're writing the books and you're writing the series, if you can see little places, as a fantasy author, it's really easy. Also, I play Dungeons and Dragons because I'm a huge geek, and I've been a dungeon master my whole life. And it's really, we have side quests all the time, right? So here's the main story, but even as I'm writing the main story, I can see, ooh, that's a cool place where I can put a short story because there's a little side quest that goes off here. You can do that in almost any series. You can take a character that may be just a little side character, and you can take them off and write a quick 2,000 or 3,000 word short story that readers will absolutely love. So they are, they're fairly quick to write. And I'll tell you, if you're using characters from within your world and from within your books, you don't have to give a lot of backstory. The reader, presumably the reader's on your list and they're getting this free short story from you. They already know who the character is. They already know the backstory. They know about your world. They know about the town that they live in. You don't have to give them all of this exposition. You can really just dive right into the story and start moving along. So 2,000 or 3,000 words is enough to tell a really great story, and readers will absolutely love you for it, because you can say, hey guys, I'm still working on book 4. I'm really excited about it, blah, 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 blah. I wrote this really cool short, sorry, I bumped my mic. I wrote this really cool short story that I think you all would really enjoy. Here it is, go read it for free. Thanks for being a fan, right? And what that does is, it makes people feel special. People love to get free stuff, and especially if it's free stuff from people that they really love, from the authors that they're already reading your books, they really like your stuff, and here you come along and say, here's a free short story that happens between book 2 and book 3. I thought you guys would like the story. People start to feel like you care, like that they are special. Being on your list means that they get something that no one else in the world gets. And you can really use those effectively, especially if you're not one of these authors who can write books once a month, that you're just publishing constantly. You can use short stories sort of in between the books to increase your engagement. So if you're the kind of author, or if you're kind of person who doesn't really like talking to people, I see this a lot. People build up a mailing list and then they don't know what to say. They're like, well, I don't know what to tell people. I've already told them about my cats and I've sent funny cat stories. First of all, almost no one hates not getting funny cat stories. So if you have those, you can send those all day long. But if you're the kind of person that it's a lot harder to write personal messages and send personal emails to your readers, send them a short story. No reader is ever going to be upset with you because you gave them more content to read. So if you're not able to write lots of those emails, taking and pulling a character from your world and writing a quick short story is a great way to keep that engagement up, especially if you're not releasing but 1 or 2 books a year. That's a way that you can keep that list active and keep those readers engaged while you're still working on the rest of the books. Readers are always going to love more content from you. So the more content that you can give them, the happier that they're going to be. The second thing that we see some authors doing, this is a little bit less, but there are authors that are using it really, really effectively, which is creating their own subscription services through services like membership.com or Patreon, where they're creating a special place for their readers to interact directly with them as patrons, right? And so if you're not familiar with Patreon, it's really simply, I love this author and I give this author $5 a month just to say I love them and to keep them writing and keep them doing what they're doing. And authors use those, they take those patrons and they give them special things like, I know several authors that as they write new books, they publish the chapters 1 by 1 to their patrons. So again, it's a really exclusive sort of little club that you can be a part of, you can pay to be a part of. But what's great about that is that readers are they're paying you to read your books sight unseen, right? And that is absolutely a super fan. Somebody who follows you on Patreon and says, I will give you $5 for every book you write. I don't even care what it is. I don't even know what it is. Those are the kinds of true super fans that you can have that will absolutely keep your career going. And so the authors that we see that are using subscriptions like Patreon, that's what they're doing. They're building up those super fans. So it takes the readers that want to be part of your super fan list and it gives them a place to go. And more importantly, it gives them a way to pay you money, right? Because all of this stuff that I'm talking about, it really is, it all narrows down, it all funnels down to, you want readers to buy your books and pay you money because that's how you will keep a sustainable career as an indie author. The other thing we see on subscriptions are doing cover reveals, character interviews. I mean, it really, the sky's the limit. You can think of all kinds of things and you know your characters and you know your world and you're writing the best. And so it's some authors literally just use their Patreon to put out books, right? So they don't necessarily do bonus chapters and they don't necessarily do short stories, but they do just put out book after book after book. And if you are writing and you're very prolific and you're putting out books quickly, that can work really, really well. But for the rest of us, normal folks who can't quite write books that fast, it's still a great way to give content and keep engagement up with your super fans. Serials is something that I've seen a lot of authors starting to do. Kindle has released their new Vella platform. I don't know if you've looked at it at all, but it's essentially serialization, right? They're ripping off Radish, and Radish has been around for a while. Wattpad is sort of the younger version of the same thing, but the idea is simply that you're publishing serials. Little by little, you're publishing a chapter or a short story, but each story ties into the next and it all becomes serialized and becomes pieces of a larger story. We have authors that do that through BookFunnel. They publish a new episode every week, or they publish a new episode once a month. And for the most part, they're giving those episodes away to their super fans. So it's not available from their website. They're not making those serialized episodes available everywhere. You have to be on their newsletter. What's cool about that is that if they're following the serial, they're not going to unsubscribe because then they'll miss an episode of the serial. And so as people are joining in and they're following on your newsletter, those serials can give you really regular engagement. Whether you're publishing a new episode every week, every 2 weeks, or every month, it gives you something to constantly send to your readers. Hey, here's the next episode. Here's the next episode. Here's the next episode. So you always have something to say. If you're a writer who struggles with things to say to their readers, serials can be a great way to increase that engagement, even if you're just kind of publishing one chapter at a time to them. The most effective ones that I see are people that take an existing series, right? That they have an existing 4-book set, or they have 8 books. Some people have really deep series. And then what they do is they decide to go back and serialize their prequel. So as they are leading up to the series, they're sending out the prequel as a serial, you know, chapter by chapter, episode by episode. And then when it gets to the end of those episodes, it leads right into the existing series. So if you get people on your newsletter, people that are signing up and they're reading the serial and they haven't actually gotten into the series yet, then the serial is a great way to get them into it. And chances are good that most people got onto your list because they read one of your series or they read one of your books, and they got onto your list because they read that series. But chances are they don't know that you have this other great series that's going on. If you're writing in multiple series, or even if you're writing in multiple genres. So they don't know about this other series, or it's a backlist series. We see this a lot where a reader joins because they're reading in your new series, your front list. You know, you're publishing new books in that series all the time, but you have that series that you wrote 3 years ago that's 8 books, and these new people, they don't know about that old series. So this is a way, there are lots of different ways that you can do it, but creating a serial that leads into that series gets people hooked on the serial episode by episode. And by the time they get to the end, boom, you've dropped them right into the next, to this other series, this backlist series, and you start making sales of that series again. And then what's really nice is when you're writing a serial, when you get to the end of the serial, you've released it episode by episode, but at the end, you can take all of that, smash it together, and you have another piece of content that you can sell. You have another book, you have a box set. It all depends on how big it is, but you serialize it for your super fans. But at the end, you package that whole thing up, and that becomes another piece of content that you're now selling on Amazon and all the other platforms, right? So it's not all these things that I'm talking about that I see. And again, these are what we see authors using BookFunnel for. It sounds like I know sometimes it feels like I'm basically just telling you to give all your stuff away for free. And that's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying that you should really think about your super fans and what you want to give to them. But then everything that you write, every short story that you write, becomes another piece of content in your catalog. We have an author, a romance author, who writes she puts out a short story every other month, sends it to her super fans, to her mailing list for free. And if you miss an episode, if you miss a short story, you don't get it. Right? You don't get it again. So it's a strong encouragement to stay on her list, because you get these free short stories that are, again, part of her world that she's building as a romance author. And again, series readers are completists. They don't want to miss any piece of that story that they could have had. So what she does, though, is she puts out a short story every other month. And at the end of the year, she writes a final Christmas short story. Romance readers love Christmas stories. I love Christmas stories. They get to the end, and then she releases that Christmas story. She takes all 6 stories from the year, boxes them up, and sells that as the anthology at the end of the year. So at the end of each year, she has one more piece of content, which is those 6 short stories that have been boxed up as an anthology, and they go between the actual book series that she's publishing. So while she gave each of those short stories to her super fans as a free thank you, you still end up with a piece of content that you can sell at the end of the year. And all of that just bolsters your backlist. It becomes more content that you can sell as new readers come in. And serials do the same thing. You might have serialized it episode by episode, but when you're done, you can take that whole thing, box it up, and you can sell it as another piece of content. And it basically means that you end up with your own personal Kindle Vella or your own personal Wattpad that you're doing just for you and your super fans. So you're not necessarily putting it out there into the world. You're doing it just for your super fans. So the last thing I want to get into is BookFunnel. A few years ago, so when we first opened, the day after we opened our doors, the first feature request we got was authors wanted to be able to sell books direct from their own website and have BookFunnel handle the delivery. I thought that was a great idea, and no, actually, I didn't. I thought that was a terrible idea. I didn't think that readers wanted to buy from authors' websites. But we finally built it after a couple of years because authors wouldn't stop asking us for it. And I like to say that if our authors are asking us for it, we do our best to build it. That's what we do. BookFunnel is here to build tools for indie authors to have the power to do whatever they want to do with their ebooks and now their audiobooks. And audiobooks and ebooks on BookFunnel are interchangeable. Anything you can do with an ebook, you can do with an audiobook. So all the stuff that I'm talking about, we have authors now that are giving out, that are serializing audio. They give out serialized episodes, audio episodes of a story. Some of them are even taking books and serializing the book chapter by chapter as audio and putting them out there and attracting audiobook listeners and creating entirely separate newsletters just for audiobook listeners. I'm not going to talk about that too much, but just know that anything I talk about with ebooks on BookFunnel, you can now also do with audiobooks. They're completely interchangeable. So a few years ago, we launched sales where you sell the book on your website or on your platform, and then BookFunnel steps in to handle the delivery of that. What's really great about that is we don't take any cut of the sales at all. We are just there to handle the delivery of the book, and it's not my job to take a piece of your money. So if you're out there and you're selling it through PayPal, you sell a $10 box set and you get to keep $9.40 of that $10 box set. That's how much you're making. Over 90% of the sale of everything that you sell direct from your website. So when we first launched that, again, I built it because authors wouldn't stop asking for it. And I didn't really think that readers would respond to it, right? I figured most readers are just going to want to buy from Amazon. They're going to want to buy from Barnes & Noble, whatever their store is. But it turns out I was really wrong. Readers are more loyal to their authors than they are to their store. Most readers, not all readers, but many readers, if they're a super fan, they're absolutely 100% loyal to you, not to where your books live. They will follow you wherever you go. Right. And so more authors, when we first launched it, it was a slow start. But as more and more authors have gotten into direct sales and figured out that their fans will absolutely buy direct from them, they are able to get, and they're selling their books at the same price that they sell them in bookstores, but they're keeping 90% of that sale. And if you can get super fans that will buy those books directly from you, not only do you have really great fans, but you're also making way more profit than on selling on any other platform that you could possibly sell on. So what you can use is, I try to tell authors, don't just put your book up on your own store and do the same thing that you're doing everywhere else, right? Don't just give them one more place to buy your book. That can be effective and that can work really well for your super fans. You can say, hey, you can buy it from Amazon and Barnes & Noble and Kobo, or you can buy it direct from me. But that really is just one more button that they can choose from. And some readers will choose to buy directly from you because they want to reward you for being their favorite author. But more than that, what you can do is what you can't do on most of the other platforms, which is give readers an exclusive deal. Hey, listen, if you buy it from me, you get it for 50% off, or you get it 25% off. You can buy this box set from me that I don't put up on any of the other stores. We see authors doing this a lot, where if you have a deeper series that's 6 or 8 books, you can box those up and you can put them on Amazon, but Amazon punishes you for selling anything over $9.99 by cutting your royalty rate in half, which means, I mean, if you box up 8 books that normally, let's say they're $5 a piece on Amazon, so normally a $40 set, and if you just wanted to give a 50% discount and sell it for $20, you're going to make as much as if you'd sold it for $10. But if you box that up and you sell it direct yourself on a $20 box set, you're going to make $19 and change in profit. So authors are using direct sales as a way to create exclusive discounts that they only offer to their super fans and they only offer to their newsletters. So they don't put that box up on Amazon and all the other stores. You can only buy this box set if you buy it directly from my website. And that can be really great to grab bargain hunters. If you have people on your newsletter that have gotten on there, but they really love box sets, they really love bargains, then you can use those exclusive discounts to grab those readers that are on your newsletter that love those bargains. And maybe they don't buy each new book as it comes out. Maybe they wait for books to go on sale. But if you box all that up, you can grab those readers with a discount. And what's really great is going back to that thing where I was saying, if you have an older backlist series or an older series set of backlist titles, discounts are a great way to revive that series and make money off of it where you really weren't making much before. We had an author that took a 6-book series, and it was his oldest series. He writes in international thrillers, and he took a 6-book series and he put it up on BookFunnel. I'm sorry, he put it up on his own website. BookFunnel doesn't do the sale. We do the delivery of the sale after the sale is made. So he put the box set up on his own website, and he didn't box it up anywhere else. But what he did was he emailed his existing newsletter, which he built up a pretty large newsletter. But that was the first series that he ever wrote. He'd finished it. The last book was published in like 2016. So here he was in 2018, 2019. And most of the people getting on his list are reading his front list titles. They had never read that first series that he wrote. So he boxed up these 6 books and he sold it for $15. Now you could buy each of those books individually on Amazon for $5. So it was a 6-book set, a $30 series. And he said, hey, you can buy it from me right now for half off. You get the whole series, a complete series of 6 books for $15. And he sold hundreds of thousands of dollars of that box set because those readers, a lot of the readers on his newsletter had never read that series, but now they're into his other series and they're like, hey, I really like these books. I really like this author. A 6-book series for $15. I'll definitely go and buy that box set. And he made a lot of sales of that box set. Excuse me. So you can grab those bargain hunters that are waiting around for box sets and they're waiting around for a series. The other thing you can do is when you do things like group promos with other authors, inevitably you're going to end up with people who saw your book, and if your cover is good and your blurb and your tagline are good, people are going to grab a copy of that book and go, hey, I'll grab a copy. That looks like a good book. And then they may not read it, or they may not get around to it for a while. And so you're going to have readers that are on your list that haven't actually read any of your stuff. Now, your job as the author is to convert those readers to convert those leads into readers and make them read your books by using your newsletter, by using some of these tools that I've talked about to effectiveness, and get those readers to read your stuff. But invariably, you're going to end up with some people on your list that basically are just there because they got a free book. So those exclusive discounts, offering maybe the first 2 or 3 books in a series, if you've got a longer series, offering the first couple of books at a really nice discount, maybe even 2 or 3 books for 99 cents, you're going to grab the attention of those people who only got on your list because they got a free book. But 3 books for $1 is a really great deal. And what you're trying to do, of course, is to get them hooked into the series so that they're going to read the rest of the series. And that's where those exclusive discounts can really come in handy. Readers love box sets. Especially when they want to know if your series is complete. If you can put a tag like that on your series and let readers know, hey, this is a complete series. These 6 books, this is 1 through 6, and that's the end of the story. Readers absolutely love those box sets because they know that they're going to start reading. They know they've got a lot of content to read. And when I get to the end, that's the end of the story. Not, well, this is book 1 of an 18-book series. That's a lot. And if they love you, they'll start reading it, but that's a lot of books to get into, right? It's a big commitment that they're making. So knowing that they're reading a complete series is really popular with a lot of readers. And then finally, the last thing that we see authors doing with those sales and those discounts is doing new release deals. So when they have a brand new title that's coming out, they will put that book up for sale on their own website as a new release and say, hey, you can either through my Patreon, I see a lot of Patreon authors doing this. They put out their new releases to their Patreon first. You can also sell the same thing direct from your website. You can just put a PayPal button up there and sell the book direct. What that does is, hey, my super fans, these people on my newsletter, you can buy this book 3 weeks early before I publish it everywhere else. The book is done, the cover's done, the editing's done, everything's ready to go. But all these other guys, they won't get the book for 3 more weeks. But you, my super fans, my very special readers, you can buy it from me right now 3 weeks before everybody else gets it, which means that you make a lot of readers happy. If readers are your super fans already, then those people are predisposed to buy your book directly from you because they already love you as a fan, as an author. And B, they always want your stuff early. They always want to read it early, right? You know, people standing in line for Harry Potter books when they came out and line at Barnes & Noble at midnight so they can be the first one to grab the book and run home and stay up all night and read it because they are a super fan. So offering them the book early and saying, hey, because you're on my newsletter, you have the opportunity to buy it before everybody else does. And if you are using Amazon's Kindle Unlimited, if you're putting your books exclusively into Amazon, you can sell your book yourself before the book is published into KU. So, right, once it's in KU, then you're exclusive and you can't sell it anywhere but on Amazon. But before it goes into KU, you have the ability to sell the book any way that you want. We have a lot of authors that use their Patreon this way. Hey, if you don't follow me on Amazon, but I publish all my new books into Kindle Unlimited, and you're not an Amazon reader, join my Patreon because you can get the same books for the same price over there, and you can get them 3 weeks early before everybody else gets them in KU. Once they go into KU, you take the sale down and nobody else can buy any more books. But before it goes into KU, you can make the sales directly from your website for those fans that aren't necessarily following you on Amazon. And then you can offer a discount. Everybody loves discounts. So if you're selling it early, you can say, hey, if you buy it early from me, you get $1 off. When it goes up for sale on Amazon, it's going to be $5. Right now, I'm selling it for $4 if you buy it early. But you don't have to do that. Releasing it early is reward enough for your true fans that they will absolutely snap it up at full price just for the ability to be able to buy it early from you. So those are, there's lots of things that I could talk about, but those are the tools that we see authors using the most and using to the most effectiveness to grow their mailing list, meaning to have that direct connection with their readers. And then also to take those readers as they come in through leads or as they come in through there's two types of people that you're going to get on your list. There's organic traffic, which is somebody gets to the end of your book, and at the end of your book, there's a link that says, hey, join my newsletter and get a bonus scene. That is considered organic traffic. Those people read your book, right? They've actually had interaction with your content. They know what kind of author you are. They loved your book. Again, if they didn't like the book, they probably aren't going back for bonus content. So those people, when they join your list, that they read a book of yours and they liked the book enough that they wanted to read the bonus content. So that's more valuable, putting those people, segmenting those people off on your list to say, hey, I know these people have read one of my books because you couldn't have gotten here otherwise. And then the other people that you're going to get on your list are inorganic traffic. If you're doing group promos, if you're doing newsletter swaps with other authors, those are readers that are probably going to like what you've got. They liked your book cover. They liked your tagline. They said, oh, that looks like a good book. I'll download a copy of that. But they haven't necessarily read your book yet. So we consider those a lead. That's a lead to a potential reader. And you want to treat those readers a little bit differently. You want to try to convince them that, A, they want to read that reader magnet that they just picked up, because they're picking up lots of them, right? If you're in a group promo with 30 other authors, chances are good they picked up a dozen new books that they might want to try out. And you want to make sure that yours gets to the top of that to be read pile. And that's where the direct communication through your newsletter is helpful, because you can promote yourself and talk about who you are and the kinds of books that you write. And that is an enticement to get those readers to put your book and like, oh, I really like what this author had to say. I'm going to go read that book that I just picked up. And then once you can get them in there, get them into your funnel, then now you can start moving them into your series and the rest of your books and start turning those leads into readers and the readers into super fans. So that's all I've got. I am happy we've got about 10 more minutes to take questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Damon. That was awesome. I was taking notes over here myself, since like I said, this is a tool that we use for our author clients. Yeah. So thank you so much for that. I'm going to get into just a reminder, everybody can drop their questions in the Q&A box up there, and I'm going to go through them. You can see the ones that are open and the ones that have been answered. A couple of them I answered just by typing out an answer, because they were just, somebody saying great question and stuff like that. So you can see that at the bottom of your Zoom screen. So let's start with this one. So our friend Eileen wants to know if BookFunnel can do anything with people who are doing print books. It's just an ebook service primarily, right?
Yeah, we don't do anything with print books. A lot of authors, so if you're building out your own direct sales store, we have authors that usually combine both of those together. There are lots of, Ingram Spark, Lulu, there are different services that you can connect to that will either do drop shipping of print books, or most of the authors that I see selling their own print books, they're doing it, they're doing signed copies. So they're making it more exclusive. Again, like selling something that's really special rather than just, here's another place you can buy paperbacks, right? Anybody can go to Amazon and Barnes & Noble and all the places that hopefully you're distributing your paperbacks. So they can buy those anywhere. What they're selling direct from their website are special copies. Maybe even I've seen some authors that commission an entirely different cover for a special edition that you can only buy from their website. And what's crazy is readers will buy both editions. They'll buy the original one and they'll buy the special edition signed copy because that's what they want. We actually had one author who hooked up her store. So to your original question, no, BookFunnel does not do paperbacks, but I thought this was a really neat idea, so I wanted to share it. She sells special edition paperbacks of her books. So they have a different cover and they have, they're all signed. So these are signed copies of her books. And she puts those up for sale 2 weeks before the book goes live anywhere else. So you can buy them direct from her 2 weeks before they go, sort of what I was talking about with those exclusive deals. But what was really neat was that she found that over time, like she would get these messages like, oh my God, my book just arrived. I can't wait for the ebook so that I can read it. And she's like, but you already have the book in your hand. But they didn't want to break the spine of their super special edition signed copy, right? They bought that to put on their bookshelf as a collectible, and they didn't want to actually read it. So what she started doing was she connected her Shopify store where she was selling the paperbacks to BookFunnel. BookFunnel doesn't actually care what you sold over here and what you connected over here. So what she did was, if you buy the signed paperback here, BookFunnel will deliver the ebook at the same time. So you get the ebook and the paperback 2 weeks before everybody else, but you can start reading the ebook immediately after purchase, even while you're waiting for the signed collector's edition to ship. Because of course she has to sign each copy and drop it in the mail and do all of that sort of stuff. But readers were immediately able to get the ebook and start reading 2 weeks before everybody else. And it's been a huge success for her.
Oh, I love that. That's such a good idea. I definitely understand not wanting to break the spine. So very relatable.
Right.
All right. So we had another question that was not in the chat. It came from elsewhere. I think Facebook. Somebody asked if you provide direct email integration, even though this person uses Weebly to promote for her email service. So can you tell us a little bit about the email integration aspect of BookFunnel?
So we don't have a direct integration with Weebly. Weebly may have a Zapier integration, which we do have. Zapier is just kind of an in-between service that shuttles bits of data back and forth. We don't have a direct integration with Weebly. We have an integration with over a dozen mailing list platforms. And what that really allows you to do is, so you put the sign up link in the back of your book, or you join group promos, and that sign up link goes to a landing page on BookFunnel where they give their email address to sign up for your newsletter. When you have BookFunnel directly integrated with your mailing service, like just MailChimp, MailerLite, all the big ones are supported. As soon as the reader signs up, BookFunnel will send them straight through to your mailing list, so that they immediately get added. Your welcome email goes out and says, hey, thanks for joining my newsletter. And you get that, they get added to your autoresponder sequences. All of that stuff is a bunch of words that may not make any sense to you, but if you know what I'm talking about, the integration is probably the best way to go if you have an integrated service. We don't integrate directly with Weebly, I'm sorry to say, but there may actually be a way if Weebly has Zapier support that you can create a bridge between BookFunnel and Weebly. We support a lot of platforms through Zapier. Flowdesk is another really popular email service that we don't have direct integration with, because they don't have the code for us to directly integrate with, right? They haven't built that feature, but they do have direct integration through Zapier. So from BookFunnel, you can get to Flowdesk through our Zapier integration. And Weebly might have the same. Email me, send me an email. I'm happy to go look it up for you and check.
Okay, and they should the email to ask you questions
is help@bookfunnel.com.
Fantastic. All right. So Tatiana would like to know if you can use BookFunnel and still be on KDP. Does it affect KDP sharing the book through BookFunnel? Like, how does that integrate?
Absolutely. So we have probably more than half of our authors are in KDP Select. I assume that Tatiana means KDP Select and Kindle Unlimited. So meaning your books are exclusive through Amazon. I would venture to say that you should use BookFunnel even more if you are in Kindle Unlimited. And here's why. Going back to what I was talking about earlier, where readers are loyal to their authors more than they're loyal to their platform, the only place where that breaks down and is not true is Kindle Unlimited. Most readers, if they are a Kindle Unlimited reader, they are loyal to Amazon and they are not loyal to you as an author. which means that they just devour romance book after romance. I say romance just because it's the most popular, it's by far and away the most popular genre of authors on BookFunnel, on Amazon, and just about any store in the world. But it works true for any genre. If your books are in KU, many of those readers are reading your book and they don't actually know what your name is. They read that, they just grab the next book and they say, oh, that looks like a good book, I'll read that one. They never even saw your name on the cover. They don't know who you are. So they read the book and then they just move on and read the next book. Many KU readers are very, very loyal to their Amazon and their Kindle Unlimited because they pay $10 a month and they get to read as many books as they want. So your job as an author, and especially if you are a KU author, is I need to turn you, a lead who's picked up my book and you're flipping through it and you're reading it. I need you to get to the end and I need to get you over to my newsletter because I want you to become a loyal reader of mine. I want you to know about all the other content that I've got available to you because KU is a hard game to get attention in. And now you really have to buy ads if you want to get any attention at all. So your newsletter is a much cheaper way. If somebody's already gotten to one of your books, you want to convert them to a reader, a Tatiana reader, more than a KU reader. So we have lots of authors that are in Kindle Unlimited, and they're using, most of them are using, Lucy Score is one of the biggest romance authors in the world, and she's also a really good friend of mine. She puts an extended bonus scene at the end of every one of her books. And through that, she has built a mailing list of 120,000 readers. She's basically built her own book bum, because I asked her one time, she puts out new books. She writes, I think, 4 books a year. She does about a book a quarter. So she's not one of these crazy, a book every, week kind of writers. She tends to write longer books that is really uncommon in romance. But she uses an extended scene at the end, an extended or a bonus scene at the end of every single book. And she's built up this massive mailing list of readers. So even though those readers all came from Kindle Unlimited, they are now unabashed Lucy Score fans because she took them and when they got to the end of that KU book, she pulled them out of there and she got them onto her list so that she could turn them into a Lucy Score fan, not just a Kindle Unlimited reader. And so that is all these techniques that I've talked about, serials and subscriptions and short stories. Even if you don't, to answer your original question, any book that you put into Amazon Kindle Unlimited, you cannot distribute that book anywhere else. Amazon does make exception for advanced review copies. So you could use BookFunnel to distribute a small number of advanced review copies to readers so that you can get reviews to your books. That is a gray area that Amazon allows people to do. But no, you can't give that book away any other way. You can't join group promos and give away free copies. That's against Amazon's terms of service. You've made a deal that you're exclusive with Amazon. What you should do instead is write a reader magnet, and that thing, you don't put that reader magnet into KU. Here's all your books in KU. This reader magnet is exclusive through Tatiana's mailing list. You can only get it if you join my list. And then in the back of all those KU books, you advertise your list and you get people all out of that book and over to your list, because that is how you're going to build your readership outside of those KU readers.
Brilliant. Oh, that's such a great idea. I love that. Okay, we have a couple. I know we have more questions than we have time. So a couple people have asked a couple different questions about what BookFunnel really works for genre-wise. Like, somebody asked, is it good for cookbooks? Is it, what do I write 2 different kinds of books? Should I avoid cross-pollinating? So questions, I think people are just sort of wondering where you see the most success for authors in BookFunnel, and also how you work if you were writing 2 different genres, what you'd recommend.
All right, so I'll try to answer them quickly. Cookbooks, yes, work great. What's really great is you can use a reader magnet by just taking a few of the great recipes out of your cookbook and putting sort of a smaller version of it, like, the best recipe, let's say your recipes is 200, Instant Pot recipes. You can make a smaller version that is 5 of my favorite Instant Pot recipes. And you can give that away as the reader magnet. And at the end of the reader magnet, it says, hey, you want 195 more recipes? Check out my book. It's available on Amazon. Like, that works really, really well. We have authors that give away cookbooks. This is another one that's popular with romance authors. So they've built up their little town. They've built up their readership. They will actually put out cookbooks of the characters in their books. So this is Mammy's cornbread recipe, right? There was one, was it like the Grey Goose Inn or something that she'd written up in an island off of Maine, and actually published the Grey Goose cookbook of the recipes for the characters in the book itself, which I thought was really, really neat, and readers really like that. We have authors that sell quilting patterns, books of quilting patterns on BookFunnel. We have authors that use coloring books, adult coloring books and coloring pages. We distribute a lot of coloring books for AMP Kids, which is they do all of the Snoopy, all of the Peanuts books, and Nate the Great, and all of these big, so they release coloring books. You can really do a lot of that kind of stuff with BookFunnel. To the question about multiple pen names and multiple genres, I would say, unless you're doing, most of the advice today is unless you're writing an erotica and not erotica, you really shouldn't have two different pen names. You should try to stick to one pen name because you can promote that one name a lot more easily. That changes if you're writing an erotica, you want to make a separate pen name for erotica. But let's say that you're writing, I don't know, you're writing science fiction and you're doing romance, right? You would want to build two separate lists. Chances are good that these romance readers, they don't want to read your sci-fi, and your sci-fi doesn't want to read your romance. But you don't necessarily have to use a separate pen name for those two lists. You just create a segment in your list that says, these people joined because they want to read my romance, and these people joined because they want to read my science fiction. So you would keep those views separate, and you would end up with a separate reader magnet for each one, because you're trying to get different kinds of readers. And that's if you're trying to build a romance list, you definitely don't want to have a science fiction reader magnet, right? You're going to subvert readers' expectations, and that's the worst thing that you can do. So if you're trying to build two different genres, you want to treat each of them as a separate path, even if you don't use a separate name.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I mean, I still see a few Q&As happening here. So I know, as Damon mentioned, he's happy to answer questions that you have. Just send an email. And I'm sorry, again, it's help@BookFunnel.
BookFunnel.com.
Beautiful.
If you go to bookfunnel.com, you can hit the contact button, and we have a little form there. And I'm happy to answer any question. Just let me know in the comment or in the email. Just let them know that you were part of the webinar and you just had a question, and either I or my people will be happy to answer. We're always there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for taking time to talk with us, Damon. This is
Yeah,
so
thank you guys
cool.
for having me.
And thank you. We appreciate your support of the summit too. We really had a great summit this year, and it's thanks to sponsors like you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right.
Bye, everyone.